So this is Devlog 25, and I'm coming to the realization that I am running out of time to get this full game out. So last devlog, I was talking more so about how Cursor has been allowing me to speed ahead. And it really has, because I've been basically using Trello to have ideas in terms of all the things I need to do. I basically put that on a timeline so I can see pretty much everything I need to do from now until ideally the end of January. And what I tend to do when I can is I try and actually put prompts that I can give Cursor onto each one of those. So ideally, when I actually get to doing my game development and I approach that task, I should just be able to copy and paste a prompt into Cursor, and it should at least, if not fix it, or give me a good start on it as well. The issue being is I'm realizing that as time is getting closer and closer, we are actually running out of time. Now, I have had to push this, release back from, the end of December to the end of January, and I really don't want to be pushing it back much further. Because again, I've told you guys that I want to get it out, and I don't want to keep pushing it back. So I'm going to basically be keeping at it basically. So what do we have left to do? What we have left to do is this. I've decided that actually I'm leaving all the images that I need to make for the game to the very end. I'm leaving out to the very end simply because I felt like I was spending so much time on the images, which honestly speaking, weren't necessarily needed until the end of the game, because I still have a lot of stuff in the game that isn't quite working the way I want it to. And I figured, well, I'd rather be in a position where everything was working the way I want it to, and then I can make all the images at the end. Now, I've got a lot of images to make. I believe I've got about 80 character combat stance images I need to make, and I've probably got just over 100 cutscene images to make for the remaining 3 stories of images. So a lot of images to make. And I'm recording this at the 10th of January, and I guess ideally I want to be able to submit my game probably in the next 20 days. So there's obviously quite a bit to do. Now, really what I'm doing so far is I'm just trying to get through the game at the moment. I'm trying to make sure everything's working. The combat scene I am almost done with. It's almost sort of where it needs to be. And Curse has been a huge help for that. The kingdom scene, I still need to test a little bit, but for the most part, that is pretty much where we need it to be. We just need to make sure that all the location panels and functions in terms of, the archives, the library, the jailhouse and such, that all of that is working the way it should, and so on and so forth. Really from there, I'm going to be redoing Act 1 and just shortening it a bit, because I got some feedback that Act 1 wasn't very good, and honestly speaking, I didn't really think it was that good either. It was a bit rushed. And then really from there, eventually, once I get to a point where all of that's working the way I want it to, I'm going to get those images done, which I actually don't know how I'm going to do it. Whether I'm going to have 2 or 3 image models open and I'm just going to try and batch create everything is probably what I'm going to end up doing. And then eventually I'll get to a point where ideally I want to give myself at least 5 days, if not 7, to then just playtest the whole game through and throughout and do what I can with it. Because again, I don't want to release a game that I don't think is ready. Right? The worst case scenario for me is that I release this game like mid-February. But I don't want it to push any further than that, because I think for me to just say, oh yeah, I want it to be end of December or the end of January, and I don't want to keep pushing it back. But we are actually getting a lot closer. So the pressure is definitely on, but I think just trying to stay consistent at it is really, really quite key. But that's pretty much where we're at so far. I think, for I guess, the rest of today and tomorrow and even next week, it's going to be getting the combat scene, working the way it should be. It's going to be getting the kingdom scene stuff all done, and ideally getting everything else that should be fixed, because for the most part, everything is working the way it should. It's just refining a few things. And then, just going from there. At the end, I do also have to make the game music with Suno, to make the sound effects for the game, which I have found another AI to help me make sound effects, so I might give that a try. and also to make game voiceovers. Something I really liked from games like Darkest Dungeon is their use of narrators and voiceovers during the game, and when you did certain actions or when you entered certain buildings. So that's something I really will want to implement as well. But again, I found that all the music, sound effects, and voiceovers, all of that effectively is very much optional stuff to have. So I've kept that to the end as well. But that's pretty much the update so far. I'm going to keep you in the loop and hopefully you'll enjoy the next one. And with that said, I'll chat soon.